Big Tone here. Just thought I'd do another little video. I've had a few comments from people on YouTube and Facebook. I want to know more about the car. So, here we are. I'm doing another video. So I'll just start off and talk about what it isn't. And it's not a big dollar build. Like, we built this thing, designed it and built it ourselves in the shed. Over there to be correct. And we pretty much use whatever we could get our hands on, mostly second-hand and older technology. So yeah, it's not the latest and greatest. It's not American spec NPK. It's probably more like when they first started doing Street Outlaws. So yeah, anyway, let's get into it, I suppose. So we'll start up the front here. We got a custom made fuel cell. I believe it's about 14 litres, so maybe 3 gallons, I think, a bit over. I don't know, I'm not really up on that. Magna fuel pump. We were running an Aeromotive Red and figured out that was our problem with all the lean outs. Basically just couldn't keep up when we were really pushing it at the end of the track. So it is a Mr. Enforcer built engine by Matt down there, and it's actually the real engine out of that when it was a street car. So that's a Series 4 RX-7. The block, however, is Series 5, and for those that want kind of a bit of an explanation on why that is, my RX-7 is a special model. It's called an Infini 2. If you look them up online, Infini 3s are the ones that people drool over, but anyway, it's still special. So it is like a performance model for the Australian people. I'd say it's kind of like a HSV GDS, something like that. In America, I don't know, CT, well, I don't know what the fancy things are over there, but it's like a factory performance. So Series 4 RX-7, Series 5 block, has a secondary bridge, balanced, full stud kit, but literally everything is stock. Like, this is no billet, no nothing. Kind of not like the usual V8 fare with billet blocks and billet heads and all that sort of stuff. You can get them for rotaries, it's just expensive. Turbo is a TA45, so probably 90s tech. Same with the wastegate. It's a split housing on the exhaust side. I believe it's in the high 70s to maybe low 80s. Millimeter wheel, I can't remember exactly. I did have the specs at some stage. So all of this intake stuff is off the shelf. The manifold, we've got an injector plate and a quad throttle body. All that stuff's from VPW. For the Americans, VPW is kind of like Summit or Jags or something. We have a few. Rocket's another one. And that is where all of that stuff came from. The manifold is just a normal manifold for an FC to a quad throttle body. I believe it's American. Wasn't spectacular. It's heavily ported. Probably got about 8 hours worth of porting into that just to make things nice. But yeah, so injector plate, throttle body is ProFlow. It's VPW's house brand for fittings and stuff. All PTFE lines because we're running methanol. So dash 10, dash 8, pretty much everywhere. We run 10 2400 Bosch injectors. These little fancy red things is my secret sauce, at least for me anyway. There's one down there that you can't really see. These are 3D printed. They're soft plastic called TPU, and they have been fucking mint. No leak by or anything that you get like with paper ones. Seal's been really good. This is cut down, usually they're here, and it has no stud, and that's because we have this V-band. I welded that on to the throttle body afterwards, and that there because we had problems where it was actually ripping the stud out with like 30 pounds of boost. So made that modification. Last year at Jamboree we did had a couple of lean outs because of the fuel issue that I discussed before, but it basically popped, bent all of the aluminium throttle blades up, and then because there's 40 something pounds of boost being pushed in, literally made it like a stuck throttle. So that was pretty exciting at the end of the track doing 250, but it is what it is. They're all fixed now. We got metal blades, and they're not even big. It's like 1 3/4 inch, I think, not even the 2-inch ones. So that's that. Custom steam pipe exhaust. It's just a 2-in-1, obviously. We have EGTs. This front piece where the turbo mounts to, that's 3-inch, and I made it kind of with a V-band down there because when I get a bigger turbo, I want it easy to do stuff. Plain billet reg, we run CDIs there into the MSD coils, and I believe we're running a platinum plug. I can't remember, might not be platinum, might be some other fancy stuff, but we've been running them for a while now. Really like them for boosted applications. Really, really good. And that's probably about it in the front here. We do run a twin plate direct clutch setup with sintered iron plates for a bit of slippage because we run some fancy stuff that I might talk about later, but not at the moment. Gearbox isn't in there. We'll talk about that. I just wanted to mention that with the thing, but yeah, this thing has been abused, and it's really a credit to Matt at Mr. Enforcer and his abilities, because we have put this engine through hell and it is still kicking. So yeah, let's move on to in the cabin. Alright, so inside it's got a dash. Doesn't have to have a dash, but I like the finished look. We've got a Willwood style pedal box with the Suzuki Swift accelerator pedal, the stock one. Steel bell housing. We have an adapter for our, we were running a Jericho, and I'll get some video of that in a minute, but basically it's got a really long input shaft, and the theory back in the day is a pro stock box. You want to move that weight further back in the car and all that sort of thing, but you know, doesn't really matter for us. It was just a bit of a pain to get it going eventually. So CNC cut, fits really good. That was Denny at what is it, Australian Diversified Engineering, I think. But yeah, he's a big rotor nut, and many thanks for him. We've had that for like probably 10 years now, and it has been the one thing that has never given us a problem. Down here, this is our electrics, nothing fancy. Underneath that, which is the Choppolator 2000 is what I like to call it, there's just a Microtech LT16C, and as you can see, various other Microtechy bits, but there are no fancy PDM things. The closest thing is the Choppolator. It's like an Arduino controlling some relays, but there's relays there, fuses, nothing spectacular. We kind of wanted to keep it like that so we could whip down to the local super cheap, or O'Reilly's, or whatever you want to call it in America, and just get stuff off the shelf if we are having problems. So Microtech dash. We have a Go Fast Bits boost controller, but because of the way that it all works, it's literally peak boost. Just a normal Kirky seat, fire bottle, everything's steel. That's probably the only other thing. Like, there's no carbon. The only aluminium are these few little things here and the belly pan. The whole idea with that was basically the car's already small enough, light enough. We didn't want to take too much weight out of it. But as I said, designed and built here, so all the chassis work was done by myself and my brother. I welded it all up, and it's been working pretty good. It's not even double frame rail because we don't really have the room for that. Yeah, let's move on. So I'll just take it from this angle because you can't really see underneath, but it's a 4-link with a 9-inch. It's a sheet metal housing, 31 spline axles, no floaters just yet because we're not quite running fast enough. Little skinny wheelie bars with heaps of flex, and in NPK spec, I'll see if I can find it, but you probably can't see it anyway. But these are 26x10 tyres, and that is what I used to run Kai Kelly and put it on him at the tree. I think the gears are pretty much just 355s, in that vicinity. And we just got our little breather at the back here. The one beside it is basically just for the diff. What else have we got here? Oh yes, tiny little steering wheel. Basically there's not enough room in between me and the shifter, so small steering wheel, line lock. That is for the chopper later, and that is what I leave off. So that stuff that I talked about earlier, that there is called a man's brake, and was created by a guy in America, and I'm pretty sure he was in the running for the first LS6. I'm pretty sure he was in the running for the first stick shifted LS6, and he got pipped. But really nice bit of gear. Basically allows us to use the clutch like normal and then do some logic switching, and then have a circuit where we can leave off of, I guess, a proportion or a valved flow, so we can actually make the clutch come out a bit softer. It's not variable, you have to preset it. You're not supposed to run any of that variable stuff, but it works really good. Leave off the button, just like a trans brake. That's why it's called a man's brake. Other than that, standard body. All the front, which you can't see, you won't be able to see, is outside. No, you might be able to see. It's all steel. Doors are all steel, bonnet steel, apart from the scoop. And it's there because of that. Single adjustables in the front, spindle mount. Double adjustable conies in the back with really light springs because it's a really light car. Yeah, and that's about it. Standard bumpers. Alright, it's been a few weeks since I did the last bit of video that you've just seen, and I didn't talk about the gearbox, but here we go. This is our new gearbox. 5-speed Lenko, came out of a rotary, so all good to go. Just finishing off all of the stuff. I got to weld in that brace there, and I actually have to section the seat for my fat ass, but you know, it is what it is. So yeah, air shifted. Should be able to handle whatever we're going to push at it.